Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point du jour, and today we are back with CFL Tiers this time after week 6 or heading into week 7. We had a new team at the top of the tiers this week, but we have to start at the bottom, and making their way back to the bottom are the Edmonton Elks, and there before the Ottawa Red Blacks are in the same tier this week, and I put missed opportunities because for Edmonton, you had a chance to get yourself right back in the West Division race. Instead, you fall to 1-4, and you laid an absolute egg against the BC Lions, 32-14. It was really 7 points only for Edmonton until late there with Cody Fajardo, who came in the game and scored a touchdown in garbage time. But Trey Ford, this was bad. This was a horrible game for Trey Ford. 4 of 12, 34 yards, and 1 interception. He was able to muster up 47 yards on the ground, but their running game in general struggled big time. I mean, their starting running back, Justin Rankin, just non existent. 4 yards on 3 carries, and then Javon Leake, 2 yards on 2 carries. So a combined 6 yards rushing for their two running backs. That's not going to cut it. They went deep. Trey Ford went deep sometimes. I think the one got intercepted early in the game, and then they just couldn't get it going at all for the rest of the game. But this is just a step back, so many steps back. I mean, you took 2 steps forward, and this is 5 steps back. It's just, it can't happen like this. And then on that defense, Jake Serezna had an interception. I think their first interception of the season, and he has like half of their sacks. So he's going to be out with injury. He actually went down during the game for a couple weeks. So that just, it gets worse for Edmonton, and they have to face the Rough Riders next after the bye at Mosaic Stadium. So that's gonna be rough. Do you start Cody Fajardo? Do you stick with Trey Ford? That's gonna be a question they're going to have to ask after this bye week. And then for Ottawa, they just shot themselves in the foot, especially in the fourth quarter. They had a lead after 3 against Hamilton, and then that fourth quarter wasn't good at all, and they end up losing to fall to 1-5 on the season. The Argos are 1-4, but you just need to find a way to get wins here. And for Ottawa, they face the Tiger Cats again. So hopefully they can find a way to win. But with how that Hamilton offense has been clicking, Kenny Lawler and Bo Levi Mitchell specifically, it's going to be tough to get a win. Moving on to the next tier, we have the Toronto Argonauts, and their tier name is Crucial Stretch, because over the next 3 games here, up until about the start of August, they have the Alouettes in Montreal. Davis Alexander and Austin Mack are going to be playing in this game. So that's automatically a different offense right there. You know, Davis Alexander 7-0 career record as a starter, so you know he wants to go to 8-0. And with how they played there at the start of the year with him, I could see it happening against the Argos. And then Toronto also has a home and home against Winnipeg on July 26th and August 1st. So these next 3 games could really, I mean, Chad Kelly coming back, can he save the season for the Argos? It's going to be tough if they lose these next 3 games. Maybe he comes back for one of those Winnipeg games, but you also can't rush him back. But yeah, we'll see how the Argos fare in the next 3. It's going to be very, very tough and could possibly decide their season. The next tier, we have the BC Lions and the Montreal Alouettes. And I said, feeling good. You got to be feeling good after, if you're BC, you got the win against Edmonton. Nathan Rourke, the Edmonton killer, went off, and he had a great game That offense, hopefully can keep it going there. The defense played pretty well. So going into Saskatchewan with some momentum, can they keep it going against Sask? We'll see. And then for Montreal, coming off the bye, getting Davis Alexander back, as I mentioned, that defense is still really good. I think this bye came at the perfect time for Montreal because that skirmish at the end of the BC game, and they're kind of losing momentum a little bit. So this bye, they can get everyone healthy back and make a push for first in the East. Hamilton currently sits there, but Montreal, get a few wins under your belt. You could be right back there in a couple of weeks. Now, for the next tier, I have the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I put rematch because both of these teams have a rematch with the teams that they faced this past weekend. For Hamilton, they are going up against Ottawa, and for Winnipeg, they're going up against Calgary after their bye week. Hamilton, they're just trying to keep that offense nice and smooth, running like a well-oiled machine because Bo Levi Mitchell and Kenny Lawler have been on a tear. They're just trying to keep that going against Ottawa. They got a 3-point win. Let's see what they can do in this rematch. And then for Winnipeg, they go up against Calgary, trying to exact some revenge on the Stampeders, trying to be better, not have, 2 turnovers return for touchdowns. So I think Zach Collaros and Brady Oliveira will be ready to go for the rematch. Then the next tier we have Saskatchewan, and I put Lost in the Smoke. It was a weird game against the Stampeders in Saskatchewan. Obviously, this game was supposed to be on Friday night and then got pushed back to Saturday, delayed because of the smoke, but there was like a 4-hour delay. They were thinking about playing the game at 11:15 p.m. Why? I don't know. But finally they said, okay, game is off. We're going to play it on Saturday at 2 p.m. And Saskatchewan started the game off pretty good because they had an interception. Vernon Adams Jr. threw one first play of the game, and you thought, oof, Calgary's going to be in for a rough game. But Saskatchewan just couldn't take advantage of those turnovers. I mean, Calgary, fumbled, I think, on their second drive, but only 3 points for those 2 turnovers, and Calgary's offense got going. Saskatchewan was kind of just going with the flow for that first half. And yeah, they scored a touchdown on the opening possession of the third quarter, but gave it literally right back on the first play when the Stamps had the ball. A deep touchdown to, I think, Damian Alford. So just not a good game for Saskatchewan. Their offense couldn't get going. Calgary's defense was really good, taking anything deep away. I think Robustelli had an amazing game in this one, so you got to be happy about that. Saskatchewan is going to try to rebound against the BC Lions at BC Place. And with the Riders losing, they fall out of the top of the tiers to the Calgary Stampeders. Yes, they take the top spot in the tiers. And I put...
Look at us, huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought that the Calgary Stampeders, just 6 weeks through the season, would be sitting at the top of the standings, at the top of the West Division, at the top of the CFL. Just an amazing defense that they have displayed so far. Their offense is getting going every single week, and it's great to see. Vernon Adams had, I think, over 400 yards against Saskatchewan. So really good performance. We'll see if they can keep that up heading into Winnipeg. Another big test for this Calgary Stampeders team. As I said, a 4-game stretch in which they face Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, and then Montreal. And they are 2-0 right now. We'll see if they can make it 3-0. So that is what the tiers look like after week 6. Now let's get into our week 7 predictions, and we have 4 games on the schedule, starting with Thursday night football. We have the Toronto Argonauts facing the Montreal Alouettes, and A quarterback is returning for one of these two teams, and it's not Toronto. It's at Montreal. Davis Alexander is going to be back in the lineup. Austin Mack is going to be joining him in the receiving core. I'm going to pick Montreal to get the win here. Toronto is getting, I think, Wynton McManus back in this game, but I do like Montreal to win this at home. The next game on Friday Night Football sees the Calgary Stampeders visiting Winnipeg to take on the Blue Bombers. Calgary is coming off back-to-back victories, one of them against Winnipeg, but that was at McMahon Stadium. Now it is at Princess Auto Stadium, and the Blue Bombers are really good at home over the last couple years, ever since, they won the Grey Cup back in 2019 and 2021. So they're dominant off a bye week. Also 18-1, I think was the record. It's tough because Calgary is coming in, they got the momentum. Winnipeg is coming off a bye. I'm going to pick Winnipeg to get the victory this week. I do think Zach Collaros is going to be able to bounce back, less turnovers. Brady Oliveira is going to be able to run the ball. I do think this stays very, very close. So I think it's close throughout, but Winnipeg, I think, squeezes out a win there on Friday Night Football. Moving on to Saturday, we got the Saskatchewan Roughriders visiting the BC Lions. For the Roughriders, they're trying to bounce back after a loss to Calgary. The BC Lions are trying to keep that momentum going after a blowout win against the Edmonton Elks in Edmonton. Nathan Rourke looked very good in that win. I think he had over 300 yards in the game. But I'm going to go with Saskatchewan. I think they can bounce back here on the road and take the season series against the BC Lions. But I do think it will be a close game. And then on Sunday, we have the Tiger Cats visiting the Red Blacks in Ottawa. The Tiger Cats, that offensive duo, you're going to have to be able to contain it. Bo Levi Mitchell, Kenny Lawler, as I said, have been on a tear lately. You're going to have to find a way to stop that if you are the Ottawa secondary. And Ottawa is trying to figure out a way to get a win here. It's been a while. So I do think that this will be another close game this week, like it was last week. Can Ottawa get the win? Who knows? I think they need to go to the ground game a little bit more this week with Stanback. He had 40 yards. Let's see if he can improve off of that, get more like 70, 80 yards. And then Ottawa could possibly get the win and Drew Brown to cut down on the turnovers. He had 2 interceptions in their last meeting, but I am going to go with Hamilton to sweep this little home and improve to 4-2 on the season. But that will do it for this edition of CFL Tiers. Let me know your thoughts down below. You never know with these tiers. It could change every single week. The CFL just keeps on getting crazier and crazier. So we'll see what happens in week 7, and I'll report to you back next week when we do our CFL tiers after week 7. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here next week. Peace.